Thank you very much, Scott. How are you? Hey, Dan. How are you doing, buddy?
Brad, thank you very much. Guys, what a treat today. We're going to be using Mr. Brad's desktop as the primary visual aid, while I myself am going to be doing some yapping, but Brad's going to yap a lot more today. Before we begin, Brad, I want to just say thank you to everybody who either attended or were with us in on the live stream sessions of our event that we just had this weekend. It went off, and it exceeded all of our expectations. Scott, I got to really hand it to you and the rest of the marketing team. I mean, obviously, we told you guys how we appreciate all the work that you put into it. It really showed. And I got to say, for everybody here, I mean, and Brad, I think I'd mentioned this, my favorite part was when Omar came up to me and one of the gentlemen there and said, "Hi, I flew in from Saudi Arabia to see you guys."
He did. He won the mileage award, didn't he?
That's when I have to be like, man, I really want to make a difference. This is not just to hear myself talk. We're here. We really believe in what we're doing, is I guess what I'm trying to communicate. And Dolores and Steve were there. We love being able to meet with you guys in person so that you could see who we are, you could see what we're about, and kind of connect that there's not that much difference really genuinely in who we are online and offline, because we are who we are. We're not like the fake online personality. This is who we are. And
you know, Dan, I think it was a pretty quality mix of presentation with respect to the content that was being shared, and also the people that were receiving it and the people that attended it. So it was very, very positive for everybody.
Right, and of course, that curriculum and videos, the content, all of that is online, I believe, or at least will be very shortly. Scott's working on the post-production if you hadn't seen it. But we just want to say again, we're grateful for you guys taking the time and listening to what we have to say. We're going to have an amazing Q&A because we're jumping quickly into what's moving. So let me start off, of course, with a disclaimer. Trade Ideas is not a registered investment advisor. We are a technology company, and all the information that you are going to be hearing is for educational and informational uses only, not to be construed as any kind of solicitation to buy or sell securities. If you want to do that, please consult a registered investment advisor. Let's rock it, Brad. So guys, this is a very important slide because the open house is upon us. People are already registering. This is going to be so much the bigger open house that we've ever had because of what we're going to show you after this, that we're worried about capacity in a way that we haven't worried about before, Brad. As I got some email from our CTO saying, "Ooh, we got to really upgrade the amount of usage we can, just the throughput, because we've been growing so much."
Well, you know, we want to create a very managed rollout as we take our Trade Ideas application to the next level, as we bring Brokerage Plus out of beta and into its real full release.
Right. So this is a lot of what we're going to be talking to you about. But this slide, humorous and to the point, basically says this right now, and this is why I want to reiterate the fact that the open house, your participation in it, since many of you here might have just recently learned about what we're doing, since there's many people who aren't subscribers, the open house is your full access to Trade Ideas, where you will get everything, the premium service, all that we have to offer for $8.88 for the full week. And that will let you kind of test drive everything you need. And this is, Brad, most likely the most critical and certainly the last open house of its kind, because, ladies and gentlemen, after this open house, there's going to be no more open houses where you will be able to purchase Trade Ideas Premium with Brokerage Plus included for free. You guys are here. You're in this kind of, you're even better, because this line hasn't even started yet. It's kind of already sold out for the most part. But the idea is that we, up until November 15th, everyone will be able to purchase Brokerage Plus simply by having a premium subscription to Trade Ideas. I want to just reiterate this because I want to make it clear. Because after November 15th, Trade Ideas becomes Trade Ideas Brokerage Plus becomes a one-time.
This is why I was
a one-time additional purchase to overall Trade Ideas premium of $1,100. And that's the part, interestingly, that's already basically sold out because there's only going to be 1,000 of those. When you roll out a brand new artificial intelligence, you want to be watching how you roll that out. And we're going to show you some stuff to explain how you don't want to be a bull in a china shop in this particular case. Bradley, next slide, please.
He's trying to
sir.
Hello?
Yeah.
Hello?
You there?
Mark? Hello? Now look, guys, I love to have fun.
The opportunity to
I do this for fun. And we've been kind of talking about Sean McLaughlin's book and making different allusions to it. The fact that you must be aware of the ability to profit from a down market. And we kept on discussing the fact that Facebook certainly was one of my biggest targets for being potentially open to some real big downside. And we've been talking about this, Brad, since probably 200. But it really kind of came to fruition today in terms of technically speaking. Facebook broke $150. And we'll talk about this when we show the software. But I just want to show you guys that we like to have fun with it. But this is not the first time you've seen it, is it, Brad? Since you and I are so, such good
it's not, but it's also, it's also, look, it's a combination of fundamental stuff happening in the real world and technical breakdowns that happen as this fundamental stuff plays out. But yeah, we'll pull it up and we'll show it on the software.
And we're trying to present it to you in a way that's memorable, that's fun, that, my God, we hate how dull everything has become. So we want to kind of memify it a little bit and help you see it together. Oh, Brad, what a beautiful day. So, Brokerage Plus, this is what it looks like. And by the way, we will show you the real deal today. But generally speaking, this is what it looks like. And this is the tool that gives you the ability to automate what the AI serves up. This is the biggest development in financial technology, I think, since financial technology, because I'm not going to talk, obviously, like Brad, if you really want to get technical, electricity is technically probably the most important thing, right? Because
no, just tell you, well, you need that to run Brokerage Plus.
Yeah, and ticker tape, obviously even going backwards. But after the ticker tape, I'm going to say there's really not been that much cool stuff for the individual investor because, as you know, you and I still do this thing called tape reading.
Your idea,
and people still rely on that. And tape reading is a skill that comes from the word ticker tape. In other words, the thing that you used to come across, you'd be like, oh, that blue horseshoe and Anacott Steel are moving.
Tier 1?
And that's from those days, the Wall Street days. So
the AIs and back testing.
We believe that what we're about to launch
you can't
is the biggest, brightest, most significant innovation for people, not institutions, not for Steve Cohen. He's rich already. He doesn't need any more help, guys.
It's all good.
You don't need to, Brad.
It's just like one of the most convoluted ways to do it.
He's got that. He's working on his Monets. No, guys, we're working for you. You guys.
It's confusing for me, and I understand what you're doing. And it's confusing for
I mean, to be fair, really, what it is, right? It's this Brokerage Plus tool that we've had for a while, and we're continuing to evolve it and make it better. But it's bringing that in conjunction with our AI signals that we developed a couple years back, enhanced a few months ago, enhanced a while before that as well. But bringing them both together to really create an interface and an ability to work with the market, really in an amazing way. So.
Imagine for a minute, I was kind of thinking of a way. Now I'm going to get to Barry here, Brad. Don't worry. I don't want to, leave Barry alone.
A little bit.
We'll come back to him. But imagine if you get into your car, right? And I'm not going to go, Brad, where I think you think I'm going to go because I don't want to go there. I'm not going to be talking about the destination to profit. That's too easy. Let's say you get in your car and you actually want to grab a bite, but that's the part where you don't really know. You want to eat something, but where should you eat? What if, like, Yelp was already sort of pre-navigated into your system in the car where the car could kind of like take you to where, it thought, and I'm being very, very like generalizing here. Obviously, I don't want a car to take me somewhere to eat, but I'm just saying in terms of functionally speaking, that's how we're approaching and what we think about the AI?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's like this. I mean, I'd actually create a little bit of a different scenario here. I'd say it's more like the chauffeur. Some people want to get in the car, drive it themselves, do everything, shift it, and do all that, you know, and we've got that. Some people want to get in the car and have it, you know, tell the driver where to go and have them drive you there. And so that's what Trade ID is. It provides the entire breadth of that experience for all different types of users of the software.
And finally, we are, excuse me, we've now gotten in a situation where we're finally breaking the coordination barrier. So Brad, do me a favor real quick. On the left side, just so that, because we do have a lot of people that don't even know the software, real quick. You guys are watching Trade Ideas Pro. If Netflix was a good company and liked, you know, helping people and making good videos, we would be the Netflix of the stock market. See how I did that, Brad?
You know, it's a good way to parallel it.
Yeah, if Netflix was good, you know.
If they were.
Right, if they were good. We are the good version of Netflix, but for the stock market. You have a channel here. You have a channel that you can make your own. Like, see, Brad's up there. He's got that My Layout and Strategies. Those are his custom channels. Then, of course, we have the channels that come with Trade Ideas Pro, including, of course, the premium channels, which are available right there in the top area of view, our AI channel and the combined view. Brad, let's just jump right to that because this is where people want to go.
Segment.
Omni.
You just want to just go right in, huh?
I want to go right. Brad.
No, you want to introduce yourself first. Okay.
No,
all right. All right.
We go right to make love.
I'm comfortable with that.
Because we don't have a lot of time to waste with people.
Now, if I may, I'd rather hit Maverick up here because I think it's a layout that's more conducive of talking about Omni. This is really a derivative of Omni that I made, right? So it's got this thing stuff.
Let's be clear. Our friends don't have Maverick. And by the way, that is a good segue, but just make sure you tell them you're not really doing anything fancy, just that for our presentation, Brad's making my life easier, right? But you're just as easily able to also, of course, use the general Omni AI channel, which is probably helpful too. Go ahead, Brad. See, that's the difference. They're saying they're similar.
Very similar.
But let's go back to yours.
Yeah, and the channel bar, guys, this is really before we dig into the AI, which is awesome, the channel bar really is, I think, equally as awesome in a way because it allows you guys to see how we created a lot of these different themes. And if you want to embark on your own venture and create your own layout and bring these windows into it, you can see how we did it, bring them over to your own layout and create your own workspace.
100%. And Brad, maybe go down and do a quick pop into the cannabis window just so that people can see. We've kind of given a broad swath. Earnings, for example. Go to earnings real quick. Because, Tesla reported today. I don't know how I know that. But here's a channel, because that's just something that everybody relates to. But if you want to see, what's up with earnings today, what's down with earnings today, things like that. You've got all these things that are pre-done by us at Trade Ideas, so we're kind of like your curators. So when things happen, we try to put them into context. Marijuana stocks, Canada legalization, lots of things moving there. So we've had a channel in that space for a while, but we add the proper names to it. Okay, so and Brad's here's ones that are being mentioned a lot on social media. So there's really, and the reason we did this, guys, is because we have seen just how difficult it is for people to make up their own mind on what they should do. And there's so many things, Brad, as you drive, and I'll love it. I mean, could you really just quickly, for the people that don't even know this, notice how Brad's symbols are changing? Brad, why are your symbols changing when you switch to the social media channel?
So because as soon as you switch to a channel, we've got idea surfing that's enabled right here. And idea surfing is scanning through, and I have my system set up to look at the top 5 results in each of the windows. I think it's 5. And it's cycling through the different top lists and bringing those ideas right to my attention. And if I go ahead and bring my cursor right into the chart, it's going to pause it. You can see that it's paused as I'm over it. And then it'll allow me to analyze it, make a trading decision, or move on, bring my mouse out, and continue the idea surfing.
And it's one of these things that we did, Brad, because we know that people often, it's the first step's the hardest, because especially people that aren't familiar with the stock market, they often don't know, well, what should I even be looking at? What are those symbols? So we said, you know what, let's take all of that out. Let's make it so that the software is doing it for you, automating the things that you don't even need to think about. As well as, Brad, if you just quickly zoom in, since we're free flowing here, right? Zoom into any one of those charts, and you can quickly see not only relevant points of, like, let's say, technical analysis, like the 13-period EMA, et cetera, but look at the lines. Brad, quickly give people the glance overview of what are those dotted lines, or why are they there for every single stock?
You bet. So it's really a proprietary algorithm. It's taking a look at each stock. It's looking at its relative volume. It's looking at how much it's traded today, the distance between its high and its low, and comparing that to normal, and coming up with an algorithm. And it dictates to us, or it lets us know here through the chart, you know, where the best place to get out of a stock if you should be getting into it right now. So it looks at that stock, looks at its volatility, and puts on here a smart stop. So if you're trading this intraday, it's letting you know that based upon when you pulled this chart up and where it is right now, this is a point that you should be looking at getting out of that. It's kind of breaching its volatility and breaching its level, if you will. And then we have a profit target as well that's taking a look at that same algorithm and giving you a nice risk-reward variable there.
Brad, while you're there, my good friend, pull up Facebook, because we were talking about in an earlier slide with Mark Zuckerberg looking for extradition. Look at the daily chart, people. See, like, we've been talking about this thing since 180. In August, we were like, run for the hills, run for the hills. Run, because again, you could kind of have smelt the writing on the wall. But this is what it sort of looks like. And the other thing that we want to convey here, right, is that nobody is immune, right? Here's the multi-trillion, billion, gazillion, million company, okay? It's being talked about all the time in nothing but positive terms, right, Brad? I mean, as far as...
Well, you know, maybe recently there have been a few negative things out there.
Maybe just a smidge. But for the most part, but look at where it is from its highs. This talks about why it is so critical, just from the logical thinking point of view, to not be constrained and stuck on just one side of the market. Look at the opportunity on the downside here, catching this wave, catching the wave. Like, you can almost say, Brad, imagine going back to the very not that we do this, but I'm just saying, look at the exponential moving average, right? If you looked at that as like your kind of, you could see the slope of it obviously is negative, and you can see that as it penetrates, it almost becomes kind of like a sell signal. It's giving you a pretty good heads up of what's going on. So
yeah, you've got the short term and you've got the longer term here, and it's definitely staying below it.
And the thing that we want to make sure you guys know, and this is why we kind of discuss things in ways and conceptually maybe in ways that you haven't seen before, it's not that we root for negativity at all, not at all. But we also do know something very simple. You cannot have a fair and competitive market where everything goes up. That's the, no offense, but that's the communist fantasy life. That never happens, because if it did, then something already would be wrong. You can't have everybody winning, because somebody, then there's no game, right, Brad?
That's right, and even the stocks that do win breathe, you know, and it's a market. It's a market that has life to it, and it's full of volatility up and down. So there's never a single direction that you should be looking.
Right. So from the point of view of just the overall concept, we are making sure that our subscribers understand and are open to downside opportunities. So we don't really preach about direction, because we're already telling you, listen, all the analytics have been done. There's no person on earth, or even, I think, software systems, because you would have to have them designed by cars, that compete with the amount of data that we crunch in order to give you the signals that we gave today. Brad, what's happening right now as you and I are seeing the beautiful 222, the trips on the twos? But what is Holly doing while that's happening? She's
Yeah,
not.
so they're a bank of about 50 strategies now that are in our AI bank, and in actuality, they're really, that's in triplicate. So there are about 150 strategies. There are 50 in each of our AI banks, and what it's doing after hours, it's running the odds maker virtually, right? It's not using the odds maker tool, but it's using the back testing relevance of our tool to really optimize each and every strategy. Look at how really add today's performance to the historical data set that it has, and figure out which filters it should modify or which filters it should add or remove, and optimize the strategy. And at the end of the day, probably around 9 or 10 o'clock tonight, when they're all done with their optimization, they'll compare statistics, and the stocks with the best profit factor, with the best win percentage, with the best win to loss ratio will then make the cut. And those will be the strategies that we'll see tomorrow, at the beginning of the trading day when we sit down.
And that's why we approach this whole business from the point of view of what Brad described, much more like professional sports. Brad told you about a combine where these strategies are like professional football players or basketball players, and they're always competing with one another for playing opportunity. And even once they play, they're also being tracked like a golfer, right? Like how many positive trades on this strategy. I mean, there's tons and tons of data collection that's going on behind the scenes, all to help you win. Tomorrow, Brad, tomorrow, the AI will trade for you tomorrow. Tomorrow's only a day away. Brad, let us jump back to, that's right, your favorite view.
Tomorrow, I love you.
Well, I'll tell you why I like this one. Just, to be honest with you, I like this one because it lets us take a look at the strategies in a little more detail with respect to the combine, with respect to each of the AI segments that we have, which strategies, were the genesis for these trades these ideas that were generated today.
Well, it probably gives you more confidence to, let's say, put more risk on in this particular view. And that's, I think, a personal, flavor. You have to, at some point, possibly be feeling comfortable enough to be on a mobile, as this information will come to you coming to a theater near you, right?
Well, no doubt. And, that's the direction that we're headed. We're headed into, what we think of this as like a fighter pilot's cockpit display, right? It's for the real professionals, the people that want to get in there and, really create some action. But we're really trying to simplify this and take what we know and what we've learned through the years and make this to be an easier experience.
Well, I like that you said fighter pilots, Brad, because it brings me, and I wish you guys could see what I could see in my mind, but it's kind of like this.
It's best they don't.
So he's so bad. But Brad, for you, since you and I are kind of in a similar age bracket, it's almost like this. The world today, the good traders, right? They want to be Maverick on Top Gun, and I get that. That's what you want to feel like. That's when you said the fighter pilot cockpit view. But the game is so elevated. We're in Firefox world. We got Clint Eastwood. Do you see what I'm saying? Firefox was a little bit ahead of Maverick.
A little more advanced.
Was a little bit more advanced. It was so advanced it had to be taken by the CIA. That's how advanced it was. But if you guys know your movie theater or genre, what we're talking about here is that it's automation. It's automation, automating the things that you cannot do. So all of these signals, let's talk about real quick, because again, so many people here don't know what they're seeing potentially, but each one of these PMLs is what you see on the left-hand side, the channels, but in a combined view. But Brad can go to his tools and options, and Brad, go over there, and he can tell the software to do what?
All right, so this is a new feature. It's we put it in the software that really brings this data to life, relevant to the end user. And so what this allows us to do is specify the trade size for Holly. Previously, we're looking at this data, and let me show you what it looks like. I'll just restore the default. We're looking at 1 share per trade. So when I save this, come back here. This kind of emulates now what the channel bar looks like. So every one of these trades, we're hypothesizing that we're going to go ahead and either short one share or buy one share, and however long we hold it, whether it's to the end of the day or through this time stop, this is going to be the profitability of it. But now, through the options panel here and through the AI sub-panel, we can do a couple of different assumptions. And there's a great little kind of Easter egg or trick in here that I'll show you as the third option. So this first option allows us to put in an equal number of shares. So this could be 100 shares per trade. And if I hit save, it's going to go ahead and calculate this accordingly. All of these data points will be calculated accordingly. The percentage will still stay the same.
Brad, if I'm just for 2 seconds, for those of you guys that don't know why Brad's doing this, just real quick, and obviously we'll get right back to it. It's simply, he's trying to say, hey, how would I have done on this AI had I traded it at 100 shares? What could my expectations be? And now he's telling you that you can do that really with any number. Go right ahead, Brad.
Yeah, exactly. So, you know, it could be 100 shares, 250, it could be 1,000, whatever you want. But
let's take a look at what some of these numbers are, because here's the big thing, guys. People before never had the opportunity to even imagine it. So let's give them some scenarios where you could put in like 1,000, 5,000, so they can start visualizing what these things could look like for them, right?
You bet. So, and we are going to be adding some additional information that lets you know your exposure and buying power for these different scenarios. But so this right here, I'm going to hypothesize 1,000 shares. So anytime I get a signal from the AI, we're going to either buy or short 1,000 shares of the stock and adhere to it. And so when you do that, you can see what the profitability of the AI is. Now this is, of course, here is in risk off mode. If you were holding this particular AI strategy set to the end of the day, then you would have lost, instead of making $420, you would have lost $514. Taking that same analysis here, holding it to the end of the day, this strategy set right here, which was much more short as the market came down, really did much better holding to the end of the day. And based on the assumption of 1,000 shares, it was profitability of 3,200 and change. Looking at risk off, it's just about 500. So, you know, and you can go ahead and toggle the different scenarios from here. Getting out on your time stops, that's your profitability, and holding to the end of the day, that's your profitability. A little more difficult through Neo today than it would have been here through Holly 2.0.
But one of the things, Brad, is really the ability to kind of see the flow that goes through it, and also be able to say to yourself, hey, could I have stomached it? Remember what you're seeing there, right? When you did on the Neo, go back to risk off real quick.
Is that not what you wanted to see?
Yeah. This teaches you, do you have the stomach for it? Do you see what I'm saying, Brad? Because the important thing is size, and what you're doing here is basically an example of a war game. Brad's playing profit oscillation war games like Whopper was in the movie. Brad now knows that, you know, at 1,000 shares, well, I mean, depending on his account size, you know, Brad's got 5 million. It's like, it's nothing. Or maybe even if it was like 250,000. But if it's a $50,000 account, you would never trade this way, right, Brad?
You never would. And this is, you know, it's one of the critical factors, one of the critical variables that you have to come to terms with when you decide to do this type of trading. You know, what is my risk going to be? What's my commitment going to be? But let me show you something that's really cool in that regard, because it lends itself right to exactly what we're talking about. So I'm showing you these different.
One second, before you go there, before you give them this juicy nugget, if you guys did take a look at our event, and you know, we had speakers, as you said, wide variety of different things, but we talked about the psychology element of being able to see the data and derive the right things from the data. So many of our speakers, Brad, talked about the same thing, which was journaling and keeping meticulous records, which doesn't only lend itself to successful stock investing, active investing, but imagine what what does your son do for golf? Brad's son is trying to be a professional golfer, that poor kid. Lucky his dad makes a living. Poor kid. Sorry, I totally got stuck. But Brad, does he keep detailed records of his golf game?
Absolutely. Yeah, you have to keep all the statistics. You have to do that so you know what to work on, you know, where to apply your effort and energy.
And that's the whole point, that what Brad is doing here, being able to basically go through a whole gamut of trades, which was what, 16, 10, 20, 36 trades today, okay? Brad can go into 36 trades and go, okay, how about pop in like 350 shares real quick? Just the ability of starting to feel the P&L through its course of minimums and maximums, okay? And seeing look, because you want to go, your Achilles heel, right? Brad, is what? Today, your Achilles heel happens to be risk off on NEO. It's important to be able to know, can you handle the worst of it? And we talked about the psychological aspect about all of those things, how they congeal to, if you can get it, if you can understand the psychological mastery of what we are being able to show you here, which, can you imagine if you had to do what we just did by hand, Brad? I mean, come on. That's what I'm really trying to do. Brad changes one setting and everything changes. This thing is keeping notes for you guys. Do you see what I'm saying? That's what's so cool about this whole system. And we've only even touched the surface of what it's doing, but because we can only do so much on the Q&A. But this ability right here to war game what works for you it cannot be really understated.
That's fine.
All right, so let me talk about this top option right here, which I think is pretty cool, because what it does is it highlights the percentage moves of these particular trades. So, you know, when we're talking about shares per trade, we're really just talking about, you know, the number of pennies that stock moves once you get into it. So a cheaper stock is going to most likely move not quite as far as a more expensive stock. That $100 stock will be breathing more than the big move of a dollar stock. So you don't really get the benefit of the percentage type of movement when you do it in the shares per trade, but you do it when you do a dollars per trade. So this lets you do some analysis based on percentage, or if you're in the institutional world, basis points. So we'll hypothesize here that I'm going to get in to $5,000 worth of a position on every one of these signals. And then over on our shares column right here, you're going to see exactly how it calculated the number of shares to make it equate to that $5,000, and we can do the same type of analysis by toggling back and forth. And it gives you a little bit more of an idea how much your exposure and risk is when you're committing a certain amount of capital to each one of these positions right here. So that's just another good way to analyze it in looking at the portfolio. But I think the best thing that we're introducing through this functionality is this last option right here, which is putting in a risk-based stop loss. So essentially it works like this. Based upon what the stop loss is and how far you're away from that stop loss when you get into the position, it's going to share size you accordingly, so that if I put in, let's say, $200 here, that's going to go ahead and share size me accordingly, so that if I happen to get stopped out of any one of these positions, I'm going to lose $200 in that trade. So my risk in each one of these positions is $200.
Between today and tomorrow, I'll get those two.
So voila, now it tells us to do that, to accomplish that, how many shares are required to implement that, and how's the profitability of that.
Yeah.
We find that it's really, you know, there's nothing that's black and white, but in doing the analysis over some time, and we'll continue to do more and also look at some additional historical, it's a really positive, interesting way to approach the marketplace from a risk perspective.
Well, it's also one of those things, Brad, that I think it highlights our ability to automate the things where computers are strong. In other words, it's very easy for a person to understand what it's like to lose, let's say, $100 every trade, or $50. So put in 100 real quick, just so it's round numbers. Tools. Yep. So I'm saying to myself, you know,
So
$100. That's how much I can lose a day. And now the way the share, I mean, on each trade. And now when I have this share information, now I don't have to think about the math of it. That automation makes me very comfortable because every single loss is the same. That's a systematic approach. Brad, remember what we had kind of talked about, which is there are big gains, big losses, small gains, and small losses, okay? And if you can just remove one of those things, which is the big losses, well, you've won, in essence, because everything else will ferret itself out. Well, one of the ways that you limit that is literally by just saying, I will not lose more than X amount of dollars. That's it. Now, then it's a trial and error game. Then it's a game very similar to blackjack, Brad, because it's just a question of what kind of a wave do you get behind? Do you have enough ability to stay in the game long enough to catch the right wave? That's it. Ladies and gentlemen, it's over. Every single person will want this because that's the whole point. You know, our software will let you try more and more things consistently because it's systematic. It'll let you try more shorts. One of the, Brad, do you remember what you had mentioned to me about, was it PPG perhaps, where it did something today, or was it PEG? I can't remember, where in one strategy, the software traded one stock long, I think made a little bit, but then it traded it short in another one and also made a little bit. Like something that we both were like, you know, we would never be able to do that.
Yeah, it was interesting because I did bring a strategy from one of the other AIs into the strategy set today, and it was a downward dog PS and then also the pushing through resistance, right? And they were both profitable trades.
And that's the kind of thing that I know from having been a active, I mean, I know that when I was younger, I was one of the more active investors in the USA for a relatively, you know, short but not shortened trader lifespan period of years. And I know how much I was trading, and I know how much something like that would have made such a big difference. You know, it's a game changer, because if you can control that one thing, well, then it's just how many tries do you do? Sure. And since we already know that the tries are statistical, right, Brad, in this particular case, the tries are statistical. We know that. So it takes it away. Now you can play the market the way, in my mind, it was really always meant to be. You're searching for true supply and demand.
There we go.
So I was going to answer, Nir's got a question in here, and he's talking about, will the AI decide in the future when to use risk on and when to use risk off? So it's a great question, and it's one that we're actively dealing with right now. We're doing it actively dealing with in a manual way with respect to Brokerage Plus. We're going to make it really super easy for the end user to switch the software from risk off to risk on, or at any point go into risk off mode. But that's just a stepping stone to get to a point where eventually this will be doing it all by itself, and you'll be just doing some throttling as to what's your risk exposure, what's your desired risk exposure in the process.
Yeah. I think that, Brad, one of the things that you guys got to understand is behind the scenes, what we are actually doing now is putting Brokerage Plus through paces as if it was out. That's what Brad and I are doing. We're no longer in any kind of paper trading. We're back to the meat market in Seattle, isn't it, Brad?
You could put it that way, I guess.
Well, but
sorry, I had a headphone in my ear.
And cat.
I want
cats,
for customers to know that
I made the test drive October.
we take it seriously to put our own money on the line, not to be some sort of you know, show-offs or whatever, but we know that if we are going to do this the right way,
because we should do
need to put the software through its paces for real, not in paper training mode, right, Brad? I mean, that's the right thing to do, and that's what you and I are working on.
Well, yeah, that's what we're doing right now, and it's an active process in doing that and bringing that functionality right to the software. It's getting us really close to our anticipated January 1st release date of Brokerage Plus.
That's right. So here, Brad's got an actual Brokerage Plus portfolio. This was our first small little maiden voyage where we're doing a little testing, working on the software. We have to kind of test everything out. We have to test holding a little bit overnight to make sure our swing traders are okay. We have to see how that interacts, for example, with uploading the AI strategies tomorrow. That's Brad's excitement for the day. But here, Brad, can you put on the positions?
You bet.
So here you can see on the left-hand side, like these were all trades today that were completely real on Interactive Brokerage through Holly and through us doing some of our own kind of testing to just see how things work so that we ourselves, because again, remember, it's not that we don't know that Brokerage Plus works, of course it does. And we have tons of people already trading on it, but Brad and I and our development team, what we're doing here is we're synthesizing the ability to go from risk off to risk on, back to risk off, and back to risk on. Because the real trick of the market, right, is not to give up. How do you know and how are you able to capture a risk on day after you had already exited? That's what we are working on today for you. And of course, also from that point of view, Brad, one of the things I really liked seeing was that max P&L, that there was really opportunity in everything.
Yeah, and everything here is sortable, so you can kind of bring the information to the top as what you're looking at. There's some great stuff that you can do, and I'll kind of go through some of these different tabs. And it's not going to be like this on January 1st because there's going to be a whole AI functionality where it's going to be automatically populating and doing a little bit different than what we're doing right here. But there's some incredible things that you can do if you want to intervene into the automated side of it. So this can be your complete black box. It can do everything for you. Get in, manage it, manage the risk, manage the profitability, and get out based on a time stop or a profit target or something like that. But you can also intervene as well as a trader, and you can use some of the really slick tools that we've built into the software here to manipulate some of the positions, whether they're open, whether they're closed, and you want to ignite and re-enter some of these positions, you can do that. But managing the positions, a lot of it's done through a right-click menu here, and when you're in a position, you have the ability to move a time stop or move a stop loss. And like a real-world example would be as a stock is starting to move in your direction, you've got some nice profitability into it. If you see that the time stop is just coming up in the next 5 minutes and it just broke some resistance level and you want to stay in it for a while, you could say extend that for 30 minutes. You could then move your stop to a break-even point and do some real logical things that make some tremendous sense, but in a real super easy way. Just done with a right click, let go of that mouse, and it's already done for you.
Well, Brad, also real quick, just a quick overview of the buttons on the right-hand side, which kind of sort of go unmentionable to an extent, but these buttons are kind of your trade ideas Tiptronic buttons. One of the things that I love is limiting out. And this is, again, the ability to do something that we ourselves, as people who are active in the market, this is where it hurts the most. Let's say you're in a bunch of trades and you want to take profits. Well, if you market out of everything, you're going to lose a lot of spread. So we, of course, created the ability for you to kind of almost be better than that, be smarter, do things that you couldn't do before, which is
and you can do the Sunday one.
Take all positions and throw offers out at the same time, and then cancel them at the same time, etc. Things that you need to know how to do.
This was
things that our software will also eventually automate for itself in different ways. Again, Brad, you can imagine, we're going to move closer and closer to letting these buttons kind of have a symphony of their own in how you play the market. I'm just kind of talking forward because that's the Q&A, right? But here, this right-hand side, that's your piano. That's for the people that want to be the keyboardists, for our friend Max, who was speaking, and Kunal, and some of the younger players who like to really trade around the AI. I mean, what's better than double and reverse? I mean, that's it. Because then that tells you, hey, you don't really have to worry so much about being right so much. You just get the flow, get the feel, and boom, you can catch it.
Yeah, so to answer Victor's question about having an option in the parameters area to limit your loss for the day, like $1,000 a day or $100 per trade. So that is coming, Victor. That's so there's some additional risk controls that you're going to have inside of the software.
And that's another reason why everybody will want that, because once again, however you systematize it, as long as you can do it in a way that scales to you. And that $1,000 number could be, again, good for Victor because Victor's got $500,000 in his account. And he can say, hey, you know, I can go for a whole year and kind of boom, 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 try it out because I know in that time, if I'm working with trade ideas, it's going to catch me such a run that there's no question about it. That's the key. That's how you win. This is why it goes back to what we were saying before at our event. We've taken the technological BS out of it, people, so that now it's really a question of who's got the money. From a individual point of view, we really are going after you guys and not going after, meaning we want this tech in your hands. Steve Cohen doesn't need to do it. He wouldn't even know how to work it. He's like, tell me some insider information, Holly. That's not how it works. Hey, Holly, what, can you tell me Tesla's numbers like a week ahead of time? Okay.
So Victor, real quick, I'll just kind of tie it up here with respect to your question. Yeah, that $1,000 a day, that's coming into the software. But the first part of your question, like $100 per trade, well, that right there you can also do based on your position sizing, like I was showing you with the AI option, setting up the trade size for the AI. You can do that right here, and you can base it on a stop loss of $100.
It's so funny, Brad, that these things are now only kind of coming to the surface, and they've been in our tech for a long time, but it's just that only now you can see it. Because once you put it in the AI, you can go, oh, so it turns out risking $100 a trade is way more profitable than trading like 300 shares. You know,
little secret.
Yeah, no, you wouldn't have never known that.
Oh. I already scheduled webinars. Yeah.
So this is the thing, guys, and as Brad said, you on our Q&A here, you get to see sort of the dough, but it's sold out in essence. Because, as I said, when you're in a situation where no longer you are confined by your dexterity or turning the computer machine on, and you can really get to where you can turn it on and say, hey, play, and I'm comfortable with this risk. That's what we're getting to. That's the pure state. Brad?
Yeah, I'm just going to pop this in here. There was a question earlier, and I didn't scroll back, but it was about Holly profitability. And one of the things is we're bringing this data into your own My Account area where it's going to really correlate with the type of trade size that you specify, whether it's in the software or on the website. They're going to work together, and you're going to be able to go through the Holly data.
You start
We're also going to be able to add commission to it and the whole thing. And so this is not available at this particular point, but this is data coming to your own personal portal.
Change everything to Open Sands.
Very soon. Let me answer John St. George's question. So John, interestingly enough, we always started with that already, but you don't have to plug it into Holly. Trade Ideas was built to automate your strategy from the get-go. In other words, we have had Brokerage Plus there
and then
for a while in beta, but we've already have tons of people who can take a strategy, and Brad's kind of giving you an example.
Probably makes it easier.
So there's one. He
also
sets it up.
Someone else is going to go in there.
And go ahead, Brad. Why don't you speak?
Yeah, so let me show you here. So here's the strategy. I would never necessarily automate this, but it's just a new high strategy on a lot of volume. So let's take this thing. A couple different ways I can do it. Probably the easiest thing is to save it right to the cloud. So I'll go ahead and save and share to the cloud. Okay, and I could close the window, but I'm not. Let's go back into my strategy tab here of Brokerage Plus. Right click, load from cloud. There's my my clipboard here. I can just load it. I could have grabbed it here too.
Okay.
All right, we're just going to add it to the existing. It found one strategy in that. If it was a multi-strategy window, I could go ahead and add all of those strategies inside of that multi-strategy.
And Brad's talking about some slightly more complicated stuff that's not needed to overcomplicate it. But yes, you can do.
Okay, so now that I've added it, it's this new high on 2 times relative volume. I can right-click here and let's edit it. And oh, sorry, wrong one. Right-click and edit it. And now I have to give it the trading instructions. How much capital do I want to commit to each signal? When do I want these signals to be valid? What time, horizon? What's the maximum number of orders that I'm willing to put out for this particular strategy right here? My commitment to my size, is it dollars or shares, or is it based on a stop loss? Is it a market order or a limit delta? Maybe I'll go in at the last price plus a couple pennies or minus a couple pennies. What type of stop loss do I want to put on it? So I can have all these parameters all set up. If I want that stop loss to be, let's say, my smart stop, put my profit target in here of, let's say, $1, and I have this already set up. Let's say I want to hold it for 60 minutes, and now I hit OK, and now I've got that parameter already set up in this strategy. So if I go to one of my trading windows, let's say it's this guy here, well, this is already set up here to automate. So now it's going to, anytime a signal is triggered here, it's going to automatically send that buy order to the market based upon those parameters that I had set up there. But if it's something that I didn't, what's that?
That's what John was asking about. So in essence, that's throwing the equivalent. What Brad just said is the equivalent of throwing it into hollow. So without it being hollow, it's just automating strategy.
So, but what we do allow with the premium subscription is we give you the odds maker. So if you took your own strategy right here and you wanted to make it even better than it is, let's say right now, you can go ahead and run a back test on it, take a look at the results, and then the power is really going through it and looking at the optimization tab and more specifically price, time, all that stuff, but more specifically all the filters that we have inside of Trade Ideas and how to make the right filtering. What's the right min value or max value, or do I even want to use that filter? And that's what the AI is doing for you, right? So if you're not that person that wants to lift the hood and roll your sleeves up, this is what the AI is doing. It's going through these different strategies, albeit the strategies start out better than this, but it goes through this type of strategy and it says, what should the RSI be in something like this? Does it really make a difference if I cut off the trades that had an RSI, 1 minute RSI less than 20, for instance? So, that's the type of thinking that's going on in the process.
Yeah, it's a completely different way of approaching investing, very scientific, very data-driven, and there's really no need then to suffer the kind of the perils of chasing your own tail with various technical analysis tools, because there is no technical analysis tool that works. Because if it did, then everyone would be using it. The whole notion of analysis, right, is being able to adjust strategies as new situations develop, and we were able to dissect what a strategy is in a way that makes the most sense for data-driven analysis. That's what makes it so good. That's why we're, possibly the fastest growing fintech company, certainly in the U.S. Brad, let's go back to the presentation. We went so long. Let's finish it up, let people go, because they've got to quickly sign up for the open house. So before we jump there, real quick, Barry, who's in the room with us, in the open house, Barry does a fantastic job of really helping a lot of people who are very new, and there's a whole meritocracy of our deputized people there who help people, a community that's vibrant, open, and now they're going to be more and more Holly involved because it's the trend. It's where everyone is going. It's free, so that's another good way to window shop. You don't have to do anything here, but just check out what's going on there and listen to what Barry has to say. He's a great resource, recommended high. Next slide, Brad, please. Boo. Brad, boo. Boo? Okay.
Boo.
Boo. Guys, this is it. This is the big one. The hibbity big trick or treat one. There is going to be no more open houses like this one because this is the last one where you will be able to get Brokerage Plus, that thing that everyone is lined up to pay for. You can still get it for free, and there are going to be people who should be like, I can't believe I missed it. But you're not going to be one of those.
Well, it's one thing also, I don't think that you conveyed it, although I think it was on our line slide, but we are limiting this, right? And we're doing that for a reason. Not to try to create this demand, but we're doing it because we want to make sure that only a certain number of people are acting upon these signals, and we want to make sure that that viability is really strong.
100%. And remember, you are here, and we're doing this whole Q&A and continued marketing effort to convey the information that right now you can still get this free, and for $8.88, no other better way to test drive all of this than on our test drive that's coming up on Halloween. And 15th of November will be the last day to purchase the Trade Ideas Pro Premium without having to pay extra. So that's what I was trying to say.
With Brokerage Plus.
That's right, with Brokerage Plus. Okay. Had a fantastic event. Once again, it will be online as soon as Scott makes it all happen. But Brett Steenbarger really exceeded all of my expectations, but so did all the other speakers. JC, and he's talking about that stinky market, and he called it again. So lots of interesting stuff that he's telling you that you should be keeping an eye on, especially if we see more weakness. So for sure, check that out.
Oh, where am I going?
I always do that, don't worry. This is our wonderful friend Sean talking to you about the other side, the downside, when we use that example on Facebook.
It was a group effort, 4 guys, and every webinar they do this.
There is a whole other side where if you understand how to work it, you are much more likely to succeed because the markets can stay down for a very long time. You should know how to make that work. Try it out, tradeideas.com, ebook. Friday podcast. One of my favorite things to do with our good friend Jamie. Brad sometimes guest speaks, and we also are going to have Matt Az and some of our other presenters come join us. But we've been talking about all the kind of non-serious, but at the same time very serious things that affect your trading, the passion, the emotions, all the little things that excite us at Trade Ideas. We hold nothing back on the Trade Ideas podcast. Please check it out. Next slide. We are a business, and we sell you artificial intelligence for the price of a Twinkie and a cupcake and a hot dog. So I can't really even begin to explain to you how underpriced it is, but that's one of the reasons why the 1,000 is really already sold out. You can see you can get the standard or the premium, but the premium, of course, is what will give you access to Brokerage Plus for free up until November 15th. And right now you can get 15% off of your first month or a year with our promo code, all caps, Spooky Savings.
Twinkie, cupcake, and hot dog?
I've never had one, but it just came to mind.
All right.
Okay. You can always catch us on social media at Trade Ideas. You ought to talk to him a lot. That guy wants you to be in touch with him at QuantBot, Today Trader, very insightful, useful members of our trading community. Please like us on Facebook at /Trade Ideas Pro. And of course, if you should have any questions, info at trade-ideas.com. I was, of course, banned from Twitter.
Looks like that slide has been updated.
Yeah, somebody was so scared of little old me, I was banned from Twitter.
That's too bad.
But that's okay. I'll be back, maybe. Bigger and better than ever. Guys, really, the most important thing from this Q&A is TikTok on the Brokerage Plus access. This is the thing also for our affiliates. Lets your online people know, because everyone's going to be asking, how come you didn't tell us? But we've been telling you this for months and months and months. On November 15th is the last day to be able to purchase Trade Ideas Premium and still get Brokerage Plus for free. So your time is ticking. John, I was banned from Twitter for being too freedom fighting.
For being retarded.
They don't like freedom fighters. All right, guys. Scott, are we all good?
I don't like trolls. That sounds good. Everybody, remember, the test drive starts on Monday. If you're not yet a premium subscriber, if you're a standard subscriber or not yet a subscriber at all, get in it. It's your best chance to try out everything all at once. And get in on Brokerage Plus while it's still available as part of the premium package. Thanks, everyone. We'll have a recording up later on tonight or tomorrow.
Thank you very much, everyone. Take care and have a great rest of the day. Thanks, Brad.
Bye. See you then.